your name is, get ready for the big surprise. You are not you. You're me. No shit.
There's few things in life better than Arnold Schwarzenegger just making weird noises. And this film opens with one of my favourite weird noises he makes ever, where you see the beautiful big landscape of Mars. Arnold Schwarzenegger's there. He's with some sexy Latino chick in a spacesuit. And he falls down and breaks his glass visor. And he starts rolling around going... Argh! In his weird sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger way. You see his eyes popping out, and what clearly I'm assuming it is kind of like, you know, you have those toys when you're a kid, not played of like plastic, but it's quite malleable, and if you squeeze it, the eyes kind of pop out. Essentially, that's the special effect, and it's that classic Paul Verhoeven thing where if you could do that more realistic, I bet he would this way still, because there's something about it, it's like part of his charm where it's more shocking because it's so cartoonish for some reason.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Like, it'd be cool to put yourself back into the cinema go back in this time, 1990, and put a film to start off with that. It really does set the tone for everything to come. I just thought it's such a fucking cool opening scene.
And Arnold wakes up and it was all a dream. And that kind of sums up the whole film, because the whole film is about having dreams of being somewhere else, having dreams that turn out to actually be real. Who are you? What are you when you're experiencing something? Memories, and whether the entire film takes place at all. He's motivated by the fact that he's having these dreams about Mars, and he wakes up next to his fucking sexy wife, played by Sharon Stone, who's great in this film. Would later work with Paul Verhoeven again on Basic Instinct, obviously. She's brilliant in this film as well. You know, she's brilliant at switching between the very sweet and dutiful wife and a complete cunt we see later on in the film. But the entire film revolves around this concept of like what is reality and what is not. And it's based on a Philip K. Dick novel. Love Philip K. Dick, you know. I remember first book of his I ever read was Man on High Castle, and I started it just on a whim and ended up not sleeping at all that night before going to school because I'd ended up reading the entire thing in one sitting. And it differs massively from the novel. Like pretty much every good adaptation or bad adaptation or any adaptation of his novels I've ever had. Underneath what is a gung-ho, over-the-top, self-aware, meta, goofy action film does still delve into that core idea of what is reality.
Although it's a complete action movie, it's all about action and special effects, and it's a real Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It has a second level, which has to do with the mind and what is real for the mind and not.
It's the greatest storytelling trope ever. I've done it countless times in English GCSE essays where you write a whole story and at the end it's the classic, it was all a dream. Very cool apartment, by the way. Very cool apartment setup. And this is what I love about Paul Verhoeven films. The use of technology, like they press a button and the background of the windows change. And this is a very, very good instrument of the way they set it up, because they're watching live scene from Mars. There's been another terrorist attack that you can tell straight away as the audience member, a lot of uproar on Mars. It really, within the first 10 minutes of the film, sets up everything that is going to happen.
Yeah, really good world building. It's nearly more realistic because the technology you see would definitely exist. Like, I love the secretary can just touch her nails and they immediately change colour. And you see she's just doing it for the fuck of it, just changing her nails and seeing which one she prefers. Sharon Stone has a hologram tutorial teaching her how to improve her tennis serve at one point. And all this technology that feels believable. It feels like it probably will be seeing it pretty soon, the rate things are going.
I think that was a famous tennis player as well. You're playing football, Messi's like saying, this is how you dribble.
Well, everyone's coming out of their VR sets now, so won't be far off. There's something about Arnold Schwarzenegger's delivery and voice. It makes me crack up, but it doesn't take me out of the movie. It makes it better. I don't know why. Like, what is it? Why is Arnold Schwarzenegger so charismatic?
Later on in the film, I think deliberately the delivery is very corny. But if you think about it, in Terminator 1, he hardly speaks at all, does he? He's just there as the presence.
I think that's good acting.
Yeah.
He is good in those movies.
Unauthorized weapons around me. But you're snowed under with work for the Hill? Then come to Recall Incorporated, where you can buy the memory of your ideal vacation cheaper, safer, and better than the real thing. So don't let life pass you by.
He sees this company and it's advertising, go on any fantasy trip you want. Be a superhero, be a spy, be this, be that, whatever. Travel the universe, go back to a fantasy land, all without ever leaving the chair. So he's like, fuck it.
Paul Verhoeven always does this in all his films. Like the screams, how much was it used in Starship Troopers? Like constantly. I love the way he does that.
He's got this level of satire that's so well blended into the plot. He's got really grounded films like that World War II epic, The Black Book, brilliant film. Totally grounded, doesn't have any of this tone. But his films like this, like RoboCop and Starship Troopers, they have this wonderful tone, totally satirizing American pop culture, corporatism, commercialism, all these things, he's lampooning them. But the way it comes out, even if you're young or dumb and you don't get any of that, it's still such an entertaining film.
He lives a seemingly normal life, doesn't he? He goes into work as a construction worker.
Seems to just be smashing up rubble.
The size of him, quite a good job actually. And he's saying to his colleague, like, oh, have you ever been to a recall? Oh, don't bother going there. Someone got a brain aneurysm or something from going there.
His wife has said a similar thing as well. She doesn't want him going there.
But Quaid ignores all of it and decides, fuck it.
To be perfectly honest with you, Doug, if outer space is your thing, I think you would be much happier with one of our Saturn cruises. Everybody raves about them.
No, I'm not interested in Saturn. I said Mars.
Okay. You're the boss.
He doesn't just sell him the pitch on what the dream's going to be. He basically describes the plot of this film. You know, you're going to be a spy. You're going to find a beautiful woman and people are going to be double crossing you. But I don't want to tell you all of it. Why don't we just hook you up? And he loves it. He's like, that sounds great.
It is such a swarmy salesman, like, and he's like, and we haven't even talked about extras. He's like, no extras.
You get to design your own female love interest in it. He basically describes her to resemble the woman from his dream. As they're sort of building the model, the last thing you see of it is literally the woman from his dream. So what came first is, has he just described it so well, but it literally looks like the exact same woman. And it's also going to resemble the exact same woman that he actually seemingly meet as the movie continues.
So straight away asking you as the audience questions like, what is reality? How would I describe it in modern technology now? It's kind of like a giant MRI tube. Medical staff come along, introduce themselves, like, you're going here, but it doesn't work out, Declan. It cuts back to the salesman with another client saying, you know, do all this, do all that. They call him and said, you've got to come down here, you've got to come, something's gone wrong.
Get off you! You blew my cover!
Douglas has gone mad.
You blew my cover!
yeah, you blew my cover! They're injecting him, but I guess because Arnold Schwarzenegger is so big, it's taking no effect on him.
So they're freaking out, and he's like, do you know what? Drug him, wipe his memory of coming here, get him in a cab and send him off.
And then it cuts to Earth at this point version of Uber. I really like this. It's always something that I always remember from the film, the little cabs. The cabs like controlled by a robot. Where to, sir?
I like it also, but they've given the robot eyebrows, so he can like roll his eyes when you say something stupid. So he's walking along, he runs into his old workmate, and he and a bunch of other guys jump him, and they take him under this escalator, and they've got a gun to him, saying, I told you not to go there, you've blown your cover. And we basically discover that, according to him, he is a spy. He's got his memories only recently. Douglas Quaid never existed, and this is all a false life. He's also one of the spies, and he got a job at the construction site just to keep an eye on him. And Arnold escapes, kicks the fuck out of all of them, really batters him. And I love violence in Paul Verhoeven movies.
Yeah,
it's so over the top, but it's so brutal. Life is so cheap in his films. Like, people just get their absolutely blasted apart. You know, in other films it'd be like the only real bad violence happens to like the real piece of shit. In this, nah. It's like at one point Arnold's running away from these guys on an escalator, and he just grabs a random innocent guy and uses him as a human shit.
And he gets shot about 100 times.
But then also he drops him and runs off, stamp on the guy as he's still sort of half alive with bullet holes in.
It's mad, man.
It's like, what the fuck?
But Quaid escapes and he goes back home, and sexy old Sharon Stone's there, and he's telling the story, and then all of a sudden she starts shooting at him.
Lori.
She's basically a job to him. They've only known each other about 6 weeks, and she's been pretending to be his wife to keep an eye on him. Seemingly, deep inside his subconscious, he remembers Mars, and that's why he's had this allure to it and this appeal to it. But anyway, she's trying to kill him, so he escapes from her and winds up getting some help from a mysterious guy with a briefcase.
I'm going to leave this briefcase here with your stuff. Come and get it. So he goes down. This scene just makes me laugh because he goes out and a seemingly old, like, homeless woman has found the case. And they're just, like, wrestling with each other. He's like, this is mine. And then she's like, no, you fucking bastard.
I don't see your name on it.
Yeah. And he just rips it off her. They turn up. They're shooting at him. He gets in one of the cabs again. He goes back to his workplace. He opens up the case. And it has a treasure trove.
Weapons, James Bond style spy gadgets, and also a video of himself.
Now, whatever your name is, get ready for the big surprise. You are not you. You're me. No shit.
He's given himself instructions. Put this device up your nose, kind of like that device in the Matrix, and it will bring out the bug. And this scene with the... Honestly, this scene where it pulls it out, you'll have to watch it. I can't explain it. He's got it up his nose and he's yanking it, but it's clearly not his face, obviously.
How many fake Arnold heads do you reckon are actually used in this
Probably
film?
about 50. It literally, his face is like that. And he manages to bring out the bug, but of course, the guys chasing him can see the bug. So he throws it, a rat picks it up, henchman's got it, he's going, there! And they just shoot him.
Shooting rat after rat.
There. Blood splurts all over the screen, but somehow the video has stopped exactly on, get yourself to Mars.
Shit. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars.
Welcome to the Mars Federal Colony. For your safety and comfort, don't...
Quaid is off on his adventure to the Red Planet.
Yeah. So Michael Ironside is playing the main enforcer underneath the main big villain in the film. As usual in this sort of Paul Verhoeven film, the main big villain is essentially a CEO. He's also the real partner to Sharon Stone's character, and they're fucking, which is kind of weird that I guess his girlfriend's got a job where she's essentially a spy / prostitute.
Yeah, there's one scene that makes me laugh because Michael Ironside's character's got this like nerdy assistant enforcer, and then he brings up like, isn't he like fucking your wife? And then he turns around and goes, "What, you saying she likes it?" And it just made me laugh.
He's like, no, she must hate it.
Yeah.
And they're just looking at Arnold like this huge dude.
So then it cuts to Michael Ironside and all his cronies being back on Mars. And then you see like some old kind of like Karen lady come up to the counter and they're asking questions like immigration does, like, what's your purpose of the visit? And then all of a sudden she kind of freezes.
And we see she starts to malfunction.
Have you brought any fruits or vegetables onto the planet?
2 weeks.
Excuse me?
2 weeks.
And we get yet another Arnold fake head as her face opens up into several parts, revealing Arnold inside.
Yeah.
So he's wearing a woman android as a costume. But also, it's like, how the fuck is Arnold Schwarzenegger fitting inside that little woman?
No, that's true. But I really like this scene from Michael Ironside's perspective because he's kind of like just chatting away, walking along until he basically gets to the lift to go up. And then he turns around and right at that point, it's Arnie's face and he's like, that's him. And then they start shooting. But in the bullet commotion, it kind of hits like an airlock. So everyone starts getting sucked out. And it's just a really, really...
It's just brilliant.
Great, crazy scene.
Every scene in this film is crazy. Like, it's just brilliant. And it becomes a big shootout and people are getting sucked out and Arnold's running around in a dress the whole time because obviously he's still sort of, I guess it was just a helmet he was wearing of the woman because he's still in a dress. Doesn't make any sense, but it's great.
And this is when we get like the first kind of like corny Arnold one-liner because he's got the head off and he just looks and goes, catch.
Catch!
Get ready for a surprise.
And in the commotion, Quaid manages to sneak out of the crowd.
And then he finds a cabbie who's this hilarious black guy who's just constantly going on about he's got 5 kids to feed and all this. And he's helpful. So he takes him to the local strip joint, which is where he's been told by himself, essentially, to look for answers. So he shows up and everyone kind of seems to know him. Some people seem to don't like him. They're calling him Hauser, which seemingly was his real spy name. And he meets up with the Latino chick who slaps him and then is kissing him. And she thought he was dead, but did you really love me or you just wanted to get in? And he's sort of just sitting there like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Also, it's our first introduction to the mutants.
Johnny, who's the leader of the mutants, doesn't really look like a mutant.
Well, some mutants are really, really obvious. Their whole face is fucked up. Some you don't notice at all until they remove a glove and there's a tentacle coming out.
Yeah, and this is where we're introduced to what a lot of people remember most about Total Recall. The owner's like, no, she's busy, but I can offer you Linda. Linda undoes a dress and we see the famous, what everyone remembers, 3 tits. And everyone's like, oh, brilliant, it's brilliant.
The 2 tits that were real were fucking sensational.
Yeah, yeah. It was good practical effects. So
yeah, really good actually.
I really enjoyed it. And Arnie comes back downstairs and Vinny the cab driver's like fondling like the free.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I've only got 2 hands, baby. And she's like, you're doing a good job. So it's a very, very cool scene.
Also introduces you to all the politics of what's going on Mars. So the big corporate boss guy is obviously running shit, and it's kind of genius because he's basically controlling the population by the fact that he sells everyone the oxygen. He can charge as much as he wants. Like you see people complaining about the fact that the price of oxygen's gone up again. Everyone's obviously living inside and it's all in quadrants that can be shut off. So he can charge different prices depending on what area they're living in. Also shut off oxygen altogether if he wants to. Because of all the pollution and radioactivity, people that have been living there for generations have become mutants. But obviously richer class of people are coming in as well. So there's this class struggle and financial struggle going on. All mutants have some level of psychic ability.
Yeah.
But it varies a lot, and some have, as we learn later, tremendous amount. He goes back and he's hanging out in his hotel room and he gets a knock on the door. He opens the door and in walks a guy who claims to be from the company Recall. And he explains that you're not where you think you are. None of this is happening. I'm not even really here. You are still sat in that chair. You're having a schizoid embolism. You think this is all happening, but you've gone off our script and you're creating it yourself. And if you don't come back to reality, then you're going to be lost forever. He even brings in his wife, Sharon Stone, who also claims she's gone through Recall so that she can be put into his imagination and dream state to try and talk him out of it. And it's such a brilliant scene because you really believe in it. It sounds plausible. It sounds, to be honest, more plausible than the idea that any of this could be happening. Because he says, literally, you are paying for the fantasy of being a spy on Mars. And you just happen to actually be a spy that has to travel to Mars. You think all this is really happening. That can't be a coincidence.
Swallow this.
What is it?
It's a symbol of your desire to return to reality. Inside your dream, you'll fall asleep.
And he's nearly going to do it. But it's such a great bit of direction where it zooms in on one little bead of sweat falling down his forehead. And Arnold's like, fuck it, and just shoots him straight in the head.
Man. Again, back to like the needless violence.
What do you think? Do you think he was telling the truth?
Well, the guy was saying, no, I think it was bullshit, personally. What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of think he might have been telling the truth.
But it seemed very believable, as you said. But I was erring towards lying. I was erring towards he takes the pill and it kills him.
So anyway, so Sharon Stone's like, oh, fuck it. So she starts kicking the shit out of him again. The Latina chick shows up. She saves him. They start shooting all the guards who have been sent to kill him. Sharon Stone gets killed and we hear their immortal line.
Sweetheart, be reasonable. After all, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
Throughout the whole film, they've started fighting, but Quaid's always beaten her. And then the 2 previous times, she's like, you're not going to shoot me, darling. Like, trying to save her life. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm not doing it again. Bang. This is when it like really hits up into another gear. Like we saw in the news reports at the start, and frequently now that we're actually on Mars, there's an ongoing rebellion. There's shootouts and terrorist explosions going on all the time. The news are calling them terrorists, they're calling themselves freedom fighters, and they're mostly getting their ass kicked. Seemingly, whatever Douglas Quaid's spy version of himself, Hauser, was doing was infiltrating this terrorist group. But
supposedly fell in love with this girl, saw it from their point of view, and became a double agent. And there's this mysterious figure who's leading the rebellion group, because imprinted deep in his memory somewhere, there's basically the big secret that they don't want to get out. So obviously the CEO is going to use the total recall technology in order to find out what it is. But obviously the fact that the mutants have this telepathic ability, if they can get to the leader of the resistance who has greatest telepathic ability, he'll be able to reveal it. So once he's rescued by the Latina chick, they take him deep into where the resistance is hiding so that he can meet him.
To note, Vinny's still going along with him this whole time. He's tagged along. He's actually been saved a few times by Quaid.
And he plays a great unwilling sidekick character that just kind of gets brought along for the ride.
It's seemingly the mutants are deep underground, away from like prying eyes. When they get down there, they say, "Who's this guy?" And he says, "Hey, I'm one of you guys," and takes off his arm, and he's got like a mutant claw. So obviously that automatically gives Vinny a free pass, I guess, because they're like, he's one of us, he's a mutant, he's not going to harm us. And then this is a great scene where we go in, they start talking to a guy, but we don't actually know who the leader is at this point.
He says like, "Oh, where's the leader," whatever he's called, and he's like, "He'll be here in a minute."
All of a sudden, very Paul Verhoeven style, he starts like discomposed, like doing stuff, and you're like, oh god, his eyes are gonna pop out, he's gonna do something. But he turns back to the camera with his like top open, and there he is within his body, like this. I can only describe it as like a creature from the Labyrinth of David Bowie, puppet creature.
He's sort of like if Yoda was a conjoined twin,
basically,
coming out of someone's stomach. The animatronics and puppetry is really well done, because as disgusting as it is, between that and the voice acting, there's something quite appealing and like comforting. He's like a weird stomach granddad who's like like all reassuring as he chats to you.
Wise, and his voice as well is like, he speaks really slowly as well. So it's like, it's a very oracle kind of creature,
exactly,
which sets him up perfectly.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
Goes into his memories, and he discovers that the secret is when they were mining on the giant pyramid mountain, they discovered a giant ancient alien technology, and the CEO knows that what the technology does is releases the oxygen that is trapped frozen in ice on the planet. So basically he knows that if they turn on this machine, there's suddenly free oxygen on Mars for everyone. They can terraform the whole planet overnight. Then he won't have any control over the population, because he won't be able to be selling and controlling the supply of oxygen.
Needless to say, he's mad against it.
He's a cunt.
Yeah.
But then at that minute, giant drilling machine come through the walls where they're hiding, and we realise that Vinny is a traitor.
Yeah, and sadly, Quaid and the team have led Vinny straight to him, which was their plan all along.
Because Hauser never really was a double agent. Pretty much every mutant is killed at this point.
Like machine guns drilled down, just evaporated altogether. Sad scene.
Also, while this is going on, they've locked down the quadrant with all the mutants in, and they've turned off the oxygen, so they're slowly dying. So it's a race against time, and they've been captured. So it's quite smart, the fact that usually this would be the dumb part of the movie, where rather than killing the hero once the villains captured him, he explains his big evil plan, leaves him to be killed slowly by someone, and then the hero escapes. But it's quite smarter in this film because of the fact that it would have been an easier loose end to kill Hauser. And Michael Ironside is a bit bemused by this the whole time as well. You know, this CEO, he's not a nice guy, he's fucking evil and ruthless, and he can't work out why won't you just kill him. But you see, he really likes Hauser, like he considers him his best friend. The way they reveal to Douglas Quaid that, you know, Hauser was in on it the whole time is through a video again, and Hauser's with him, and you can see they really like each other. So he wants his friend back. He doesn't want to kill Douglas Quaid, and they're going to go through the total recall technology again in order to create Hauser. And they're also going to do it to the Latina girl to make her essentially a sex slave wife.
The CEO even invites Hauser to a party around his house later on, like, so you can tell straight away they're besties.
See you at the party.
If you don't keep still, you'll end up psychotic.
He just jabs it into like the assistant's skulls.
One guy's literally just got like a pole
Yeah.
through his head. Like how you'd physically do that is just like, no, you wouldn't, but it just looks so.
Super violent, and then Quaid and Latina manage to escape, but now they've got the added time pressure of the mutants are slowly suffocating, so they've got to get to the reactor and release the oxygen to save the day.
I love this big set piece because this giant alien reactor thing is essentially, I don't know how you describe it. It reminded me a little bit of in the Lord of the Rings where they're in the big dwarf cave dungeons, the Mines of Moria. It's this giant structure with all these giant rods that are probably even bigger than those enormous offshore windmill farms.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Huge structure, and heats up these giant rods and sends it into the ice to melt it and blast it up into the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's really cool how you see this and the amount of work they've put in. Obviously, it's not realistic, but it would actually work. They've concepted how it would work. I thought that was really cool.
Really cool, and just visually looks amazing. And it kind of becomes a slightly predictable cat and mouse race as they're trying to climb up and set off the reactor. The CEO and his troops are trying to kill him. I like the bit where he tricks them once with the hologram. They think he's tricked him again with the hologram where he goes, "Is this really me?" It is.
Yeah,
and then just shoots him.
Yeah. It was kind of like good little teamwork between him and Latina, because they're like running and like throwing the holograms at one another and using it. They escape from the lesser henchmen that we knew would die anyway, because they always do. And they're going up in the lift towards the reactor, and it's a real good punch up between Quaid and Ironside's character. And Ironside gets pushed off and it's like hanging off. And then he's like, "I'm going to take you with me." So he drags Quaid and they're kind of like wrestling. But Quaid looks over and sees the wall coming down. And then Ironside can't do anything about it. He just looks up and goes, "Ah!" Crushes him. And Quaid like sort of turns around and just goes, "See you at the party." And I was like, fucking hell.
It's so great.
I realised, Declan, when I was watching it, that's him gone, but where is the CEO?
Yeah.
So it's going up. And then they get to reactor, and you know that you haven't seen the CEO. So you know with these kind of films, always one more obstacle, and he goes to turn it on, and all of a sudden out of the shadows steps the CEO with a gun. You know, he straps a bomb then to the reactor, and then you got the added time of that counting down. So it's a really cool set piece.
Well, also at the same time, they shoot and accidentally burst a window. So they're all being sucked out into the Mars atmosphere where they'll die. And they're all holding on. The CEO can't hold anymore and he loses his grip and gets sucked off out into the outside. The Latina chick gets sucked off out into the outside. And just before Douglas Quaid is sucked out, he gets his hand onto the reactor and starts it off.
So they get sucked out. We see the whole thing right to the back of the front of the film where their heads are kind of like enlarging.
Blowing up and their eyes are popping out.
But obviously, to note, the CEO has been sucked out before the other two. So his head explodes, or you don't actually see it exploding. But it's then like, is the reactor going to kick in before these two die?
You got to think, like, how can you make it visually look plausible that an entire atmosphere basically gets created at once? But you do believe it because the sequence is really long, and the force of what essentially it's like a steam volcano where it pops out of all sides, at the top, out the sides, and basically blasts huge amounts of breathable air all around the planet at the one time, bursting through windows, and it smashes through the windows into where the mutants are nearly all suffocating. It turns the whole of Mars into like this beautiful oasis. Obviously the ground is all barren still, but the skies suddenly become blue. And Douglas Quaid is sitting there with the Latina girl. He saved the day, everything's great, looking up at this beautiful blue sky as they kiss. And it turns to white. And you think back to the actual package he got sold, which was called Blue Skies. And that's how the film ends, where he's literally been a spy, hooked up with the Latino chick that he essentially designed himself based off his own fantasy. And the film whites out. So for me, I am positive that the end of the film, as it goes to white, that is him being lobotomized.
Oh, okay.
But what do you think? Because there's enough really to see it from both ways.
Well, I've already said that I think that guy was lying. So I think it was real. I don't know why they would add that bead of sweat.
Well, maybe he was really lying, but part of the fantasy.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, you're good. No, I'm still going to go, just because you've said that you think it's him being lobotomized, I'm going to say the opposite. I think it's real.
Well, ultimately, it doesn't matter, because part of the fun is the fact that it constantly plays on the fact of is it real or not, and plays through to the very end. You're fine going with either. It's just a lot more fun if it all really happened.
Yeah, it's kind of like that whole Blade Runner debate where they keep asking like Ridley Scott, like, is he an android or not? And he never answers it.
And giving the answer would ruin it.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone's actually ever asked Paul Verhoeven.
His aim was to leave it as ambiguous as possible, of that you could happily go with either version and it be totally believable and plausible.
But overall, fucking love this film, man. Like, it just really is like a thrill ride from start to finish. It's Paul Verhoeven in his actual pomp. Like, do you know what I mean? It's violent. It's got some great one-liners from Arnie, great action pieces, you know, ensemble cast, Sharon Stone, what more could you want in her prime? A fantastic film, highly recommend.
Yeah, the only thing I hate about this film is how sad I am every time Three Tits gets killed. Honestly, I'm always gutted and I'll always forget that she dies. Other than that, it's just perfect. Like, this is one of the easiest to digest films ever made. It's just so multi-layered and clever, like many of Paul Verhoeven films, but also just so entertaining. So goofy, so fun, and rounded out with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the lead. So what more would you want? So that's an easy recommendation for Total Recall.
I just had a terrible thought. What if this is a dream?
Well, then kiss me quick before you wake up.